You are going to spread the gospel to everyone you've infected with your negative point of view.
I'd rather die first.
But you won't be the first to die, Miss Page. No, I think Mr. Urich will have that honor. Then we'll go to your place of employment, see to Mr. Nelson, Mr. Murdoch. After that, your friends, family, everyone you've ever cared about. And when you have no tears left to shed, then we'll come for you, Miss Page.
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick, episode 11, The Path of the Righteous of Marvel's Daredevil on Netflix. Francis Maxwell, William Bibbiani, Kim Horcher, Alonso, Duralde.
Packed house.
Oh yeah.
Yes, indeed it is.
Yeah. Can't keep them away.
In which we learn never pull the "there's no bullets in that gun" trick on Karen Page because she'll shoot you anyway.
No.
Do you really think I would put a loaded gun on the table where you could reach it?
I don't know. Do you really think this is the first time I've shot someone?
Miss Page.
But right after saying a very weird line, do you honestly think I've never shot anyone before? Yes, most people haven't, Karen. We really didn't see that one coming. Yeah. We're not going to get to that this season. They keep alluding to her past.
Yes, I was wondering, in fact, did I miss something where she has a conversation with Ben where they talk about, what you found out about me or something?
I was thinking the same. Did they ever explain what happened with the bloody knife in her hand? I couldn't think back to it.
I thought that was a plant. I thought
that was
But no, there's other stuff
So
apparently,
she's
which
not
is
thinking about that.
No. This is something else entirely.
There's something like before the events of
which I guess season
used to be an
2
assassin.
will reveal. So
Right, well, I don't know. We forgot to mention that they teased Elektra in the last episode.
Yeah,
but no, because in the comics, and they start teasing it again after this whole event after she shoots Wesley. That's what happens in the episode.
Yeah.
No spoilers. They start teasing the idea that maybe she's going to have some trouble with coping mechanisms because in the comics, Karen ended up becoming a drug addict.
Right.
So in this one, she's
swinging
the ball.
She's having some trouble. Well, technically, it's the next one, but this is all leading up to it.
Yeah.
The majority of this episode is basically Wilson Fisk and his best bud Wesley dealing with a horrible tragedy. Work is going to hell. Wesley is trying to you focus on this, I'll help you with it. I really wish we could have had at some point in this series flashbacks to finding out how Wesley and Wilson Fisk became besties.
Yeah.
Because he is really loyal, and good friend. We would all love a friend.
I hired him off Craigslist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But no, he's a gregreat functionary for sure.
Oh, he's one of the great functionaries, I would argue. He's so.
He's like what's his face in Will Patton in No Way Out.
Sure.
Okay.
A really efficient number
sorry,
2.
I made a reference Bibbs didn't get, so it's going to be important.
I went with it.
Rosario Dawson is back in this episode, and that's always a good thing.
That's always good to see.
At least I got to see you with your shirt off again.
Their relationship I find really fascinating.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like we were talking last episode about how with Foggy, how usually there's when the best friend finds out that you've been lying to me all the time about being a superhero. We're used to it being less of a big deal, and this show actually kind of went into the psychological truths of, hey, you've been misleading me for decades. I thought we were best friends.
Yeah.
Rosario Dawson is sort of the convenient patcher-upper. Again, that's a relationship that could either be sort of purely perfunctory and professional or get weirdly gooey, and I think they kind of find the middle balance where obviously they're into each other, but they realize that circumstances make it impossible for them to be together, and she's so great, so that's awesome.
She's always good to see. And we get his finally the efforts put in place to remove of the Zorro costume or whatever he's been donning for the past.
He's starting to
realize that I can't run around with just spandex on and not have knives go into the side of me. So
I love of all the torture interrogations of this season, the one this episode is about where did he get that body armor?
Right?
I need a name.
Yeah. It's always really frustrating. Sometimes I wish movies wouldn't make a big deal about, or TV shows wouldn't make a big deal about a superhero finding a costume or a name, because the more emphasis you put on those artificial elements, the more ridiculous they seem sometimes.
Exactly, yeah.
If anything, this whole costume subplot is the most ridiculous thing in this entire series. I think it functions. I just think it comes. It's just like I need a costume so bad.
I think it's like we got to slap him into this red thing, and that red thing did not just happen. So how does it? You know.
I know, but it's got to be like the special light body armor that we'll never explain. And I just
it's no worse than what they do on the Flash with the kooky nicknames every week.
That's true, but the Flash is a kookier show.
Yeah, it's a kooky show.
Great.
In its
He
defense.
can't pull a Peter Parker either and make it himself.
Yeah, no, it would be a little difficult.
It would suck. It would look like the Zorro outfit.
Yeah.
Or it would look like the first Daredevil costume in the comics, that crazy yellow and black thing.
There you go. Yeah, it turns out he's actually colorblind.
It turns out he had to beat a poor soul to get it out of him. I felt really bad for that guy. I mean, he could fight.
I really
he
liked
could
Melvin
fight.
Potter.
But
I
Melvin
hope we see
Potter,
more.
when he finally broke him down, I felt really bad for him.
Well, Melvin Potter,
he's got some sort of disability, right?
He does, but he's also a very formidable opponent. And in the comics, he actually ended up being, was he a vigilante or a villain called the Gladiator?
He was a villain, but then later he swung over to Daredevil's side.
Right, okay. So, little column A, little column B.
The Gladiator.
The Gladiator. With a terrible costume.
Yes.
Which is kind of ironic, really.
But I do love the whole scene with Karen and Fisk's sidekick. Wesley, thank you.
Yeah. Great sequence.
Just that whole crazy back and forth, and Francis cited earlier, no, we're not killing you first, we're killing you last. Thing, which was great. And just the idea that you know, I was trying to picture in my mind, how is Karen going to go back to all these people and say, you know, all that stuff I was saying before about the Ixnay on that. Whoops.
It turns out it was swamp gas.
Yeah.
Swamp gas reflecting off
and
the
it turns out if you just do this on the table, it wipes all fingerprints away from the crime scene.
I had lightning psychosis.
I love that scene though.
The scene
before that, I never really had felt connected to Karen because you know you see like the love interest in a story, and they're usually pretty two-dimensional. They don't do anything except support the main person. But then I was shocked when she killed him, and then I like her after this.
Yeah,
I'm
awesome.
super interested in what
One
she
of the
has
things
to do.
I'm fascinated about on this show is that she's not really that much of a love interest. Daredevil has like a couple of people who are interested in him, but Foggy gets around more than he does on the show. The big romance on the show is with the villain.
Yes.
Isn't that weird? You never see that.
True, yeah.
The big romantic subplot.
I feel like the big
the villain.
character buildings with the villain as well.
Well, I was also expecting the sort of typical love triangle where Foggy loves Karen, but Karen loves Matt, but Matt's too busy being Daredevil.
Right.
And it's like, no, Foggy and Karen actually seem to have a thing going on, although she also, I think, has a torch, carries a torch for Matt. And then there's the Rosario Dawson thing, and Foggy's getting some on the side from
Marcy.
From Marcy,
Yeah.
from Jimmy Choo lawyer. So you know, there's a mix of things happening, which is
what's great about the show is that in Karen's situation, you see her, you feel sorry for her throughout. You think that she's genuinely a good person most of the time, and she kills someone when she has to. I'm not saying that's a flaw in her character, but that's a flaw that is coming out in a lot of people's characters, except Matt. Like he does pay the consequence for a lot of the decisions he makes, but he's still not willing to kill people. Well, we talked about how he may have been at fault for Nobu's death. Is that his name? Nobu?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's still not willing to take that plunge to just go and cold-heartedly kill someone when he has to, whereas someone like Karen does it. Wilson Fisk has done it before, so there's questions of morality throughout, which you talk about a lot, which is the main theme of the show. And here we see it again with someone that has become so formidable and so likable. She just kills someone when she has to do it.
Well, you know, I mean, she does it out of self-defense, but at the same time, the show never shies away from the fact that A, she has to live with what she's done, and B, she has to live under the terror of, oh shit, what if they find out that I've done it and I'm going to be this target of Fisk, and never knowing, you know, always looking over her shoulder. It's so last episode of The Sopranos, you know, where she's constantly going to be looking over her shoulder thinking they're going to find out it was me and they're going to get me, you know, and so that's interesting.
And in doing so, it set up what we will talk about later, but it just makes me see like Ben is one of the true like good characters in the show. Really rarely falters away from his task. I know that he's out there to try and expose the truth through his own outlet of using the media, but he doesn't really do much wrong with his character, which makes me like him so much, which makes me know what is inevitably going to happen. You know what I mean? It's just something that I was like, all right, and it's talked about, we'll talk about it later, but he's just a great character who I felt was out to do all the right things, but do it within the measures of what he's given. I know that he does step on some toes and he goes behind scenes, but it just seems like he is not willing to take the same risk that everyone else is doing.
Right.
Someone like Karen who can just who will kill someone, which she had to do, as you said. But I feel like Ben is a real good character on this.
Yeah, totally. We had to wrap up real quick. I did want to give a shout out to Nick Gomez, who directed this episode. Made one of my favorite early '90s indies that no one remembers, called Laws of Gravity, featuring a young Edie Falco. If you've never seen it, check it out. Anyway, we'll be back to talk about episode 12.
Good day.